You're listening to the Live Free podcast. I'm your host, Christine, certified life coach, pain to power mentor, and creator of Embody You Mindset Mastery School. I'm here today to discuss living life after disease, disaster, or adversity, to discuss living life fully once again, a life of hope, peace, and resiliency, a life fully embodied. I utilize the lessons that I learned going through not one, but two primary cancers. I'm here today to guide you to the life of your dreams, turn your pain into power, and lead you back to yourself. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Live Free podcast. Today, I want to talk about how life is meaningless. There's a little clickbait for you. You're thinking, what the heck do you, really? Like, now she's going to say life is meaningless? Yes. So I'll tell you why. Because life is fundamentally without meaning. Meaning that every situation is totally neutral. It doesn't have a good and it doesn't have a bad. And now at first blush, that probably is really polarizing. You're probably saying, absolutely not. Like the fact that I lost this person in my life means it doesn't is not that that's not a neutral situation. Or the fact that I got cancer, that is not a neutral situation. Well, I'm inviting you in these next few minutes to think of things a little bit differently, because the bad things, with the quotation marks, you can't see me with the little bunny ears, the bad things, they are going to keep coming. Bad things are going to keep happening. This is part of life. So, how can you become more resilient in those times? And how is illustrated in this episode. So let's keep going. So really, it is us that gives life meaning. Every event that happens we are designed to give things meaning. We are meaning-making machines. This is what human beings do. And I got this teaching from it was an Instagram reel that I saw from a Bashar channeling, who is similar to, I can't remember the name, Esther Hicks, similar to Esther Hicks. The idea of channeling otherworldly beings to give us humans on this earth more information, more clarity on the happenings around us. Now, whether or not you believe in that, that's totally fine. But I really liked his message, which was that life was fundamentally meaningless, and that we as humans are designed to give everything meaning. And, that rang true for me. And so that's what really sparked the idea for this episode. And what I've noticed is that we are always meaning making. You hear things like, it's not in the cards for me, or, I just didn't get a good vibe about it. Or people will say things like, things just weren't lining up, so I figured it wasn't meant to be. All of these sorts of things. And this meaning making that we do over and over and over again, it is determining our lives and the way that we perceive everything that is going on around us. And what's kind of freaky about that is that it also determines the paths that we take in life. Is this meaning making? And I'm not saying that there's a right path and a wrong path, because again, that's a meaning, isn't it? I think that the paths that we take in life are neutral. I think that there are a few junctures in life that we will come to whether we want to or not, and that the rest of our experience is truly based on the meaning that we give it. And so, how can we make life have a bigger meaning? How can we have it be a meaning that serves us, one that creates for us a version of ourselves that we've always wanted? You know, the family, the money, the time, the things, all of these things that we want in life. I really truly believe that in order to get those things, we have to make what is happening around us mean something that is going to serve us and not mean something that isn't serving us. Because the events are going to keep coming. You know, you're getting someone getting sick, losing somebody, missing a flight, getting a sickness of some kind. All of these things, they're going to keep happening over and over again. But I believe that they are neutral, and that when something happens, that we have a choice, that we have a path that we can take, that we can have it mean something for us, or we can have it mean something to us. And that will ultimately determine your experience of this world. And so I wrote down a couple of examples. I like to kind of get a little bit of an idea of what I'm going to talk about before I talk about it. Otherwise, I'm just blindly speaking, and sometimes it gets kind of rambly. So today I wrote down a couple of examples. So let's talk about those. So we'll start with a biggie, and then a light one, then a biggie, then a light one. And one of them being my cancer. Seemingly a bad thing, for sure. Is it inherently good? No. Is it inherently bad? I don't think so. I really believe that it is neutral. And so I gained cancer. Cancer came to me. And everything seemed fucking terrifying. It seemed so scary. And I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know what my life was going to look like. And it seemed pretty bad at the time, for sure. There's no question. It seemed pretty bad. And so I gave it this label of bad. And it wasn't until I changed my gears to give it a meaning of this is going to serve me that I was able to get out of this kind of funk of how bad it was. And that lasted about 2 months. And I remember the very moment when I decided that this was going to mean something for me and that I was going to gain something from it rather than seeing as something that was happening to me. And I've spoken about it before in my past episodes, but it's such a powerful memory that I'll just bring it up again. I remember being on the boat at my lake, not my lake, my cousin's lake, rather. And I'm going there today, which I'm really excited about. And I was sitting on the boat, and the boat just had this grounded feeling. I just found out that I had cancer. I was very shook by it, but there was this sense of calm that came over me that was truly heaven sent. And I was sitting on the boat, and I was connected to the boat in a way that I've never been connected. It's like I could feel the water. I could feel the water to the earth. I could feel all of the creatures in the water. I could feel the earth to the earth's core. I could feel the sky above me. I could feel the bird flying overhead, which I believe was a hawk of some kind, which for me has a meaning of my stepdad who passed away. And so I just remember all of these feelings all at once. And I remember just deciding that somehow that I was going to be okay. And so I chose a different meaning. I chose that I was going to be okay. And I chose that this was going to serve me somehow. And so, to further my example, when I say that my cancer, seemingly bad, when I decided that it means something else for me, I went from the previous me, which there's definitely seems to be like a BC and an AD, um, but the previous me, unsure, uncomfortable, unhappy, always giving way too much of myself, never drawing any boundaries, afraid to live my purpose, to be speaking on stages, uh, doing podcasts, telling people that I'm a mentor and that I can help them. This person playing really, really small is now the opposite of all the things I just listed. And yeah, of course, I have low moments. Everybody does. But I live every day with so much purpose and so much understanding that every single day is a blessing. I am completely unhinged from the person who used to believe that I'm nothing, and I instead see that I'm so powerful and that I'm powerful beyond measure and that I can be, do, and have anything that I set my mind to. I live in this career. I talk on stages. I speak into microphones and put it out on the internet. I'm comfortable saying that I am a mindset mentor and that I can help you change your life. And I have done so time and time again for people listening here today. And all of that, I do not believe would have come to fruition without my cancer. I really don't. I really think I needed to be shook to my core in order to understand that there was a life here and that I was going to be the person who could take people from these dead spots into these powerful spots without having to go through trauma, or perhaps having gone through trauma and now need a hand transmuting it. I knew that somehow I needed to be this, and I followed it. And I do not believe that that would have happened without cancer. So that is one example that I truly believe is a situation that was neutral, that I chose to make a meaning, and it became good. Another one is I had a flight home once missed. It was in the height of COVID. And so, of course, flights were just awful. And I remember one time we were coming home from, I want to say Winnipeg. I don't really know why I was in Winnipeg, but anyway, we were in Winnipeg. And we were somewhere. Anyway, we were coming back from wherever we were. Ontario. No, I can't remember. Anyway, we were coming back from wherever we were. And when we got to Calgary, we missed our flight. And I don't know if it was because it was canceled or it kept getting delayed, and we waited and we waited and we waited. And then it finally got canceled, and everybody was just kind of like sent to do whatever they needed to do at 1 a.m. And we were so frustrated. And my husband was very like, this is bad. I'm so angry. We're screwed, those sorts of things. And I remember saying to him, you know what? There is always a blessing in every situation, and that we can choose for this to be a good thing. We just have to believe. And, of course, he was in his frustration was kind of like, oh, I have no interest in hearing this, you hippie. And so he continued to be mad. And I spoke to the front desk and was like, hey, like, this sucks. This sucks. We know this sucks. What can we do about this? And she was like, you know what? Let's make the best of it. Why don't we, where in town do you want to stay? And I was like, why not downtown? When do you get a chance to stay downtown Calgary? I said, I'd like to stay downtown. And she was like, okay, sounds good. And we looked online and we found a really cool hotel right next to some cool bars, and she recommended them. And I said, yeah, let's do that. So we booked that. And then she said, and then tomorrow morning, we can't get you on the first flight. And I was like, oh, shit. She said, but we can get you on the second flight and we can give you first class. And I was like, there it is. This is awesome. Okay, yeah. I'm like, let's do it. So I was on the second flight. I was first class and I was staying downtown. And while I was there, I was given food vouchers. And we went to a little Irish bar and we ordered whatever we wanted. And we had a great little time in downtown Calgary. And so there was that little blessing. But I had to physically choose. I remember having to make it make meaning. I remember having to decide that this was gonna be a good thing. And when I did, the good things showed up. Next is getting shingles, which I recently had, and it was awful. And it was very painful. And the best way I can describe it is if you've ever worn a really sparkly sequin top and your arm keeps scratching, 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 scratching. And after a while, it becomes this gnawing pain that like you don't even want to put your arm down. That's what shingles feels like. It is not a nice feeling. And then you couple that with burning and itching. It's great. Anyway, so I had shingles and I said to myself, this has got to mean something. There's not mean something, but there's got to be a blessing in this because there always is. And what that was for me is that it was this ability to really slow down. I had been going for months and months and months with absolutely no slowdown in sight. And so I decided to choose to make this a slowdown. I went through my phone, I organized everything while I was sitting there on the couch. I made a really beautiful video for a friend of mine that I've been meaning to do forever. I watched movies, I listened to books, everything. And that ability to slow down was something that I was really sorely needing and just wasn't giving myself the opportunity to do so. And so there's yet another example, maybe not on a large scale, but yet another example of a blessing, but I had to choose it. And finally, the biggie is that my stepdad, he passed away. And again, I say to you, it is not good nor bad. It is neutral. And it was a really awful experience. He was diagnosed in July, and in October he was gone. And it still remains to this day a very painful memory. I miss him dearly. I miss him every day, and I always think about him. Talking about it now, I can feel it. There's emotion is beginning to rise. And what I want to say about Rod is that there was this blessing. And at the time, I don't know that I chose it. I was a little too fearful. I was a little too scared. And so maybe I didn't get the full effect of the blessing. But what I did gain is that one day I recall him telling me on a road trip back from the naturopath, we were trying to save his life. And he said to me, Christine, I worked my whole life away, gaining for someday when I retired that I could be happy, that I could have peace. And he said, now here I am, sick, being told that I only have, weeks left. And he said, I should have never waited. I should have never waited to be happy. And he said, so promise me you'll never wait. Sorry. And I didn't. I didn't wait. I traveled the world, a lot of it, not all of it, but a very good portion of it. And I spent all kinds of money that we could have spent on getting a new truck. And we still don't have a new truck. But we have so many memories, so many great memories. And I remember saying to somebody shortly before I was diagnosed, I believe it was my sister, I said to her, one thing that's crazy is that if I was diagnosed with something that was terminally ill right now, like Rod, I don't think that I would have a single regret. And that is thanks to Rod. And that is thanks to that blessing. And so I ask you and I beg you, when things happen to you, decide that they're going to mean something good for you. Because what's interesting is that as I was gathering these examples, as I was looking through the different experiences in my life and my memory, I realized that there were a lot of situations that didn't have a blessing. And those were always situations where I didn't choose to see it as a good thing, where I chose to see it as it happened to me, where I was in my victimization. Those were times that nothing good came of it. Or even to further that, they were situations that I created in my own mind, and therefore no blessing could come from it because I created them. So to break down the riddle in life, the meaning that we give the situations that happen to us are going to determine the life that we live. The experiences that we have and gain from those situations, but you have to choose it. You cannot sit in your victimization. Now, I'm not saying not to feel. I have felt all of those emotions. Every example I just gave you, I have felt them. I have felt them deeply and painfully. I have allowed myself to sink to the bottom of that pool and have that cry. To say this isn't fair. To be angry with God. I have felt those emotions. But yet, I have still chosen to have something good happen, and something good happened. And so begin to play with it like a game. These situations will keep happening, but allow them to become something good. Allow them to become something that you are happy about, that is a blessing in your life. Think of something that happened to you where you chose for it to be good and find that it was good. And then think of something that happened to you where you didn't choose and you were instead in your victimization and it wasn't bad. Gather evidence and proof of how this can be true in your life. And you might think, well, maybe Christine's just a really positive person and she always finds the silver lining in things. Well, I mean, you'd be correct. I often do. But I can tell you is that the times that I didn't find a silver lining, there was none. And the times that I found the strength and the courage to find the silver lining, there was one. And that I can say with absolute certainty. So these paths will continue to unfold in front of you. There will continue to be forks in the road. These forks they come in the experiences of cancer, missed flights, shingles, the passing away of a loved one. These forks will show up over and over and over again, and you will have to choose over and over and over again to turn left or turn right. And that will determine the quality of your life. And I think I will leave you here. I wish you all the best in your life as these forks in the road keep showing up to you. And I wish you the strength and the courage, once you've had your cry, once you've understood, once you've felt the feeling of this isn't fair, because that's okay. It's okay to feel that. Once you have taken that rest point at this fork in the road, that you choose to make it mean something for you and not to you.
Thank you so much for listening. If you found expansion with this last episode, then that means that others will too. And the best way to get the word out about the podcast is by leaving a review. I would be so grateful if you could leave me a review and let me know how you felt about the podcast. Included in the show notes will be everything that we talked about today, including all of my transformative programs. Change is just on the horizon, my friends.